Make a Path presents Let's Talk.
Alright guys, some of you are probably surprised that I did the Bloodline video before Daredevil. However, I just want to let you know I started watching Bloodline before Daredevil came out, literally hours before Daredevil came out. Bloodline was just so damn good. I had to keep watching and finish it before I started Daredevil. If you haven't checked out Bloodline on Netflix, check that shit out. Now, in this video, let's talk Daredevil, a Netflix original, must see. Alright guys, so I made a video before when I saw the trailer for Daredevil. The trailer had me hooked. It looked awesome. Now I have actually seen the entire season. Yeah, I just had to. It's a magnificent show. Absolutely awesome. And it kicks ass. However, there's elements that will piss you off. There was one element that irritated me so much, I literally stopped it. Now, if I wasn't, binge watching one episode after the next, I probably would have just let it go. But immediately when it happened, I called bullshit and I stopped and went and did some housework or something. I forget what I was doing. But it pissed me off that much. And here's the thing I want to tell you is, I am an asshole when it comes to comic book movies or shows. I'm just an ass. I love realism when I watch, for entertainment purposes. I want everything to be as realistic as possible. And yes, even superhero shows. And I think people get a little annoyed when we talk about realism in superhero shows. And I understand. I understand completely. There's some people that they want to just have fun with it. Just let it go. Just have crazy wild shit, and that's completely fine. The part in Daredevil that got to me was, and spoiler free by the way, it's where an individual, let's say a very old person who can barely manage to walk, is able to, let's say, bitch slap a grown man across a room. That was the moment where I said, comic book moment, I have to fall back. Now I know that sounds negative, and to be honest, there was only really one other thing that irritated the hell out of me, and that is the generic bad guys. The ones that will describe their crime in specific detail to their victims right before the hero shows up. As if there's no other creative way possible the writers could have conveyed that message. What made it worse is they didn't even need to convey that message. We didn't have to know he was getting $1,000 for every woman they were kidnapping. That's unimportant. All we needed to know is that he was taking women against their will and locking them up. We don't need to know jack shit other than that fact. In a show that I consider very well written, this dialogue with the bad guy in the pilot episode, unfortunately, is a shit stain in a good TV show. Now, getting all that negativity off my chest, and keep in mind, it was only 2 scenes specifically that stood out to me and said, yuck and yuck. The rest of it, downright amazing. It kicks so much ass. Now, there's some parts you will have to overlook with the flipping and jumping that just do not make sense. He'll jump and do a complete flip for no reason at all. However, some of it gets really cool. Some of the action scenes are done very well, where it doesn't even look like they edited the camera. And I know there's a way to do that where it doesn't look like they edit the camera, but sometimes they actually film it. Complete fight scene without editing it or stopping. This might be one of those. I haven't looked into it to see how they did the fight scenes, but I'm telling you what, the fight scenes, phenomenal. The character development and growth throughout this season 1, fantastic. Especially Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin, wonderful. What's his name? I always forget his name. Eldon Henson as Foggy Nelson, terrific. I thought I would like his character the least, and I absolutely enjoyed the shit out of Foggy Nelson. I really liked his character. It's one of those comedic relief characters where he's not overboard. It's not too much and it's not constant. It's a comic relief character that knows when to tone it down when the scene calls for it to be toned down. The writing was good. It was very good. Also, Deborah Ann Wall, she played Karen Page. She was fantastic. She is an absolute delight. Beautiful. When she was sad, she sold it, and it was great. I loved her character in this. You felt for her character at times, and you understood her, and she got her point across. And that's a difficult thing with this character without spoiling it. There's some things the character does where you're like, you know what? Should you be doing that? But she makes it work. Last but not least, and I'm only doing main cast here or else it's going to take forever. Everybody else is like, geez, the dude who played Wesley, I have his name here, Toby Leonard Moore, awesome job. He did a great job. But to Daredevil himself, Charlie Cox played Daredevil, and you know what? This is the thing that sold me on the trailer. I love Cox. Charlie Cox. He played in Boardwalk Empire, and he did a great job. He played a character named Owen, and I thought he did a fantastic job. I really enjoyed Owen in Boardwalk Empire. There was a part where I really loved his character, and it's a gangster flick, so anyone could die at any minute. I loved his character, and there was a moment where him and one of my other all-time favorites, which was Richard, those two drew down on each other, and for a moment I'm like, oh shit. No matter what happens, this is bad for me because I like them both. You know, I want them both to live. I was really interested to see Charlie Cox in this film. I was actually comfortable with it. It was a good fit. It really was a good fit. The casting for Daredevil in this was absolutely great. He did a great job. He sold it. He was believable. And it seems like, to me, one of the most difficult tasks for a comic book show or movie is doing a corny scene and selling it. And they sell the shit out of it in Daredevil. They really do. I love how we start in it. We start right in the thick of things, but not too much into it. See what I mean? And then we get a little backstory of the boring origin. Because they really could have went before the Man in Black and did a bare bones origin story right up to it. But you know what? They threw us right in the start of the origin, and they went back and showed us what led there, and then we went forward. It was just great. I thought the writing in this was spectacular. Wonderful for a comic book movie. And similar to the most recent Batman movies that came out, Daredevil is dark. It's got blood, guts, gore, you name it. Now, it's not overboard. You know, you get arms broken, you get people blinded, you get some blood, torment, torture. It's not in your face and all the time and over graphic. Let's put it that way. It's not like they show us these scenes for a gore fest. It's simply an arm snapped in half. You see bone, it's there. They don't hide it, cover it up. It's there. Snap, done. However, they don't go overboard with it. He doesn't rip out that bone out of his arm and beat him to death with it and then stick it in his eye socket or something crazy like that. There's a lot of violence and a lot of fighting in it. However, it is tamed for what it could be. And if I could go back again, I don't think I said enough about Vincent D'Onofrio's performance for Kingpin. He steals the show when Kingpin is on the screen. He does a tremendous job as Kingpin, and I think those two actors have great chemistry together when they're on scene. You want them to kick the shit out of each other. And you know what? Speaking about kicking the shit out of each other, Daredevil, you might like this as far as realism go, boy does he get his ass handed to him. You will spend more time watching Daredevil get his ass kicked than you will watching Daredevil kicking ass. But I absolutely love it because warriors are not going to go in all the time and be untouched, you know, unscathed. He doesn't come into this unbeatable. They really do a great job at taking Daredevil and saying he's not invincible. He can be hurt. For Daredevil, he needs to try hard and focus and accomplish it. He doesn't just show up and beat the shit out of everybody. He can do that with certain people, but there's other people where it's more difficult for him to get the job done. And that's the same with fights in the real world. You know, fights are not all one-sided all the time. Daredevil shows up. The bad guys either get a few punches in or a lot of punches in. Some of them even technically win at the moment. If you have not seen Daredevil yet, I highly suggest you give it a shot. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, so please let me know what you thought of Daredevil down in the comments below. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.